privileged once again to be joined by Dr. Ben Carson, Chief Neurosurgeon, Pediatrics at Johns Hopkins University, Washington Times columnist, and author of America the Beautiful. Hello, Doctor. Good to talk to you again, sir.
Nice to be back. Thanks.
Well, thank you very much. All right, I was just listening to the president during our first hour. I had an open mic. He was asked a question about Obamacare, and he defended it naturally, but he also took the Republicans to task, saying that it's their holy grail to have 30 million people uninsured. He said that there's not even a pretense of a competing plan, that they haven't put forward any alternative. They just want to kill this bill. Do you think, and I know when we'll get to your calling Obamacare, saying that it's taken the joy out of being a doctor in many respects. But first, do you agree with him? Because I kind of do, that in the sense that the Republicans just are poor communicators. They're not going to stand up and defund any of this. And if they were to, and even if in the fact that they keep passing bills to do away with this in the House, they haven't held up a page and said, hey, American public, here are the 10 things we will keep from Obamacare, but it's on one page, not 18,000 pages. So in a sense, I think there's a PR problem from the Republicans. Do you agree with that?
Well, certainly they could handle it a little bit better. First of all, Congress has a lot of power. They have powers to propose laws, to make laws. They have the ability to decouple the health care bill from the rest of the budget. They can do that. This is what they should be doing so that the president doesn't have political football to play with.
Well,
and
go ahead.
They need to go on offense here. Don't just always sit around and play defense. You'll never win the game that way. So, his claim that there is no other proposal, that's not true. I was on Capitol Hill a few weeks ago talking to the Congressional Health Caucus. There's some very good plans in place. Now is not the appropriate time to banter them about, but I call them scalpel ready. They're ready to go. But, there's no point putting them out there at a time when, this is the law of the land.
Right. Well, I agree with you. So you're saying that you would like to see the Republicans, as some of us have called for, in spite of apparent hesitance on the part of the leadership in the House, say to the president, or say in the budget negotiations, whether it's a continuing resolution or the next budget, hey, you're not getting the funding for the IRS to get involved in this, or you're not getting funding for this part of Obamacare. Use the purse strings to kill it. Is that what you're saying?
Use the purse strings to kill it, but also don't allow it to be a political football by making it a separate bill. Don't let it be attached to the funding bill. They have the power to do that.
And why do you think John Boehner, Eric Cantor, Congressman McCarthy, the whole leadership, why do you think they're not headed in that direction?
Maybe they haven't thought of it yet.
Well, maybe, Doctor, you should pick up the phone and get on the phone to Boehner, because somebody's got to talk some sense into him. Maybe you're the guy. All right, so now let's talk about the what you said the other day. I believe it was on Fox, where you said you called Obamacare a killjoy for doctors. How so?
Yeah, well, because there's so much more documentation that you have to go through. And, you didn't really go into medicine to document everything. You went in to try to heal people. And such a large percentage of your time is taken up by bureaucratic nonsense now. And we don't need to do this. What we really need to be concentrating on is how do we return medicine to a situation where the relationship is between the healthcare provider and the patient. Let's get the third parties out of this. We can very easily do that by adopting a health savings account. That would only involve a third party for catastrophic and large, bridge-type situations. But, 80% of cases are going to be handled without the need for that. And that's going to really drastically reduce the cost of medicine.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree with you more. We're talking to Dr. Ben Carson here on the Steve Malzberg Show. Let's switch gears here a little bit, and let's talk about something that you've weighed in on many times, especially in the wake of the Trayvon Martin case. Just the other day, and I played the soundbite yesterday. Oprah. I expect it from Jesse Jackson. I expect it from Al Sharpton and the others who have a kind of a financial interest, in my opinion, in saying things like this. But when Oprah said that, and I'm paraphrasing, but this is exactly it, just about, she said that Trayvon Martin is Emmett Till, that it's an exact parallel. It's the same thing. My head almost spun around. I just don't understand. Is she making it up? Does she really believe it? What do you think?
Well, I never try to say what somebody else is thinking, but obviously, I don't think there's any comparability there whatsoever. It was very different situations, and the thing that happened, with Martin and Zimmerman, could have happened with anybody anywhere. I don't think it was race specific. The Emmett Till situation was extremely race specific.
Absolutely, and it was a hallmark or a landmark case. I mean, example, terrible example, but it stood out in the civil rights struggle. It meant something, and to diminish it by I mean, I'm white, obviously, but to diminish it by saying Trayvon Martin is Emmett Till. I mean, my God, you either don't know who Emmett Till was and what happened to that 14-year-old boy, or you're just doing this on purpose. And like you said, you can't get in someone's mind, but either way, it's pretty sad.
It's very sad. What's truly sad is the fact that we're allowing ourselves as a nation to be divided on so many planes. Last year it was the war on women. Of course, after the election, the war was over. But anyway, and this year, it's all this racial stuff. It's class warfare all the time. Age warfare, whatever kind of warfare we can create. We, the American people, have got to rise above it. We've got to say, look, we know that there are people trying to divide us, divide and conquer, and change your society. We kind of, if we don't learn how to identify those elements that are manipulating us, then it's all over.
Well, let me ask you this, and this might be one of the most serious of all. It might be slow to develop, but the Department of Housing and Urban Development (HUD) is going to impose a new rule that will allow the feds to track diversity in America's neighborhoods and then push policies to change those that it deems discriminatory. Now, this has happened in select localities over the last few years, just one or two, Westchester County in New York, where they come in and they basically threaten to tie that locality up in legal battles that'll cost millions and millions of dollars that they just don't have. Now, Kendall Coffey, famed attorney, was on me yesterday and said the federal government just cannot come in and change zoning laws, but they could come in and try to and threaten lawsuits and get their way. So, I mean, trying this social engineering based on what the government feels is discrimination in a neighborhood because maybe there's too many whites or too many blacks or not enough, that's pretty scary.
Federal government needs to go back to school and read the Constitution, find out what they're supposed to be doing. Maybe if they start doing the things they're supposed to be doing, they can keep their nose out of everything else. That would be really great. But, the more they involve themselves in everything, the more screwed up everything gets.
That's very true. All right, tell me about your book, America the Beautiful.
Well, it's still on the New York Times bestseller list for 6 months now. And basically, we wrote that book, my wife and I, because, we saw what was happening to our country, that people were forgetting who we are. And we're becoming more and more like everybody else. This is an extremely different country than every place else. That's the reason that we went from nowhere to the pinnacle in record time, because we looked at things differently, because we had different beliefs. We believed in God. We believed in ourselves. We believed in hard work. We believed in fairness and honesty. We believed in compassion. And we're allowing those things to be drummed out of us, largely because we don't know about them. So, that was really the reason I wrote that book. And several history teachers have told me that they love it and that they're using it in their classroom.
Well, if that's the case, then our kids will be much better off for it. I could tell you that. That's certainly the truth.
Well, I hope so, because right now one of the largest problems that we face in our nation is lack of knowledge, lack of understanding of what's going on, and for that reason, people have to, take their information from the media, from pundits, and from slick politicians. And the founders of our nation wanted to ensure that we had a well-informed populace so that they wouldn't be vulnerable in that way, because they said the moment we become like that, that's when we change from the country that we've designed.
All right, where are you on, every time we talk, I ask you this, and we haven't talked in a few months, so where are you on the decision whether or not to maybe make a run at public office, including the top office in the land?
Well, I continue to be at the same place, and that is right now I see my role as going around the country and trying to help people wake up and to get some courage. We have to stop feeling beaten down. People have been beaten into submission. They're afraid to even talk about what they believe because they think that they're the only ones. And the fact of the matter is they're in the majority. But the secular progressives, with the help of the media, have made them think that their opinions are very strange and far out. It's just not true. So we got to get people that recognize if you're going to be in the land of the free, then you also have to be brave. You can't just sit around quietly and complain.
And you have exhibited that quality, my friend, over and over, and continue to, and I hope you will continue to. Thank you for your time, Doctor. We'll speak to you again, sir.
Always good to talk to you.
Thank you. My pleasure. Dr. Ben Carson, ladies and gentlemen, Chief Pediatric Neurosurgery at Johns Hopkins and Washington Times columnist.